lot of people think of skyscrapers, honking horns, and hordes of people when they think of New York City.
Absolutely. They see the masses of people in Times Square on New Year's Eve, or people trying to catch a peek at Matt Lauer every morning on the Today Show.
But when you actually live here, it's the parks that juxtapose with all that noise and concrete to create a very necessary peace.
Right. And the mother of all parks is Central Park.
Right.
Brooklyn has Prospect Park, the Bronx has Van Cortlandt Park.
Then there's the smaller parks that pepper our side streets and neighborhoods that we live in.
Yeah. And amazingly, they're mostly maintained by the city. A few are maintained by smaller community organizations.
But all of them are open to the public, so anybody can come in, anybody can enjoy their green spaces. It's great.
Except for in one, Gramercy Park.
The only private park still in existence in Manhattan, and it's the oldest private park in the entire country.
Gramercy Park is totally unique in that it's an old-fashioned strolling park. No bikes, frisbees, or dogs are allowed.
And there's actually a ban on feeding squirrels and pigeons.
And on fairs, swing sets, snack shops, and other less than genteel intrusion.
Absolutely no alcohol permitted.
The word Gramercy is actually derived from the Dutch Krom Maraja, which means little crooked swamp. It refers to what was here. It was a hill and a swamp and a bog that actually flowed down into the East River.
In 1831, a developer named Sammy Ruggles took a look at this mosquito-ridden bog and he saw opportunity knocking.
So he bought it from the Duane family and spent about a decade draining the swamp and flattening the land. It took about 3 million horse carts of earth to make that happen.
Horse carts. I mean, you know that couldn't have been quick.
So then he laid out 66 parcels of land around the park and called it Gramercy Square.
And you had to have an address on the park to be able to get that coveted key to the park.
Still do, and some pretty imposing gates ensure that that policy is adhered to.
Yeah, no locksmith's gonna copy that key for you.
It was a slow start for the development. It wasn't until the mid-1840s that some of the best architects and most influential residents started to build.
And build they did. I mean, these houses are incredible. This one, 19 Gramercy Park, it's the Sonnenberg Fish House from 1845.
Right, it was originally owned by Stuyvesant Fish.
Which is a great name.
Fantastic. The entire top floor of this house is actually a grand ballroom where some of New York's most elite have been wined and dined.
Amazing stuff. Then you have the National Arts and Players Club. The Players Club was actually bought, number 14, by Edwin Booth,
whose brother, John Wilkes Booth, had just assassinated President Lincoln.
Right. Well, the good Mr. Booth turned it into a place where actors could discuss their craft.
Right. It was almost like he was doing penance for his brother's bad deed. Next door is the National Arts Club, formerly known as the Tilden Mansion.
Sam Tilden was the New York governor, 1876 losing presidential candidate. And in the 1870s, he had Calvert Vaux, he's one of the designers of Central Park, do this massive overhaul on the place.
I also love the houses along the west side of the park. They almost make you feel as if you're in New Orleans.
And then on the east side of the park, you have some of the best apartment houses downtown.
34 Gramercy Park is actually the city's first co-op.
Historians seem to be divided on that, man. Maybe it's the oldest just in existence.
Whatever. It was built in 1883 with only 3 apartments to a floor, and it had an Otis elevator, which was super luxe for the time.
This one, at 36, it's another interesting one.
When the developer was planning it in 1908, he had envisioned all 12 stories to be clad in white marble slabs.
Well, white marble's kind of pricey, right? So he switches gears, he goes with white terracotta tiles, he calls the building fireproof, and voila, he's got himself a marketing
And
gimmick.
it made sense when there's so many fires at the time. John Barrymore, writer Eugene O'Neill, and Alfred Ringling, the circus genius, actually called this one home at one point or another.
And many other celebrities and dignitaries.
Who shall remain unnamed.
Of course. They continue to populate all these great old buildings around the park.
Can you imagine the deals that have been made behind those doors?
Can you imagine the deals that have made inside the park?
I guess without a key, we'll never know.